He is on the fan hotline, and he is John Greco. Hey, what's up, John? How are you?
Hey, Andy, good morning. What's up, Daryl?
Good to talk to you again. How you doing? How's life?
I'm doing well. Can't complain. Yeah, bye week. It's amazing. Halloween in a couple days.
Means we're not losing, right?
Yeah, Halloween in a couple days. So, family's excited about that. And finally, I'm happy that the big guy weather is here, and it looks like here to stay. Shorts and long sleeve shirts for the rest of the year.
Daryl, I know John is a hell of a cook. He is like Master Chef. Did you know that?
I did not know that, and I'll tell you this, John, I'm an excellent taste tester.
Perfect. Yeah, maybe in the off season or later in the year we'll have to have a little tailgate or something.
Will you do anything special for Halloween? Will you cook up something like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think. You're not going to give away cooked food to little kids that are coming through the neighborhood, but I mean, what's the food that's inside the house for the family?
We have these like silicone skull molds, and I do like skeleton pizza pocket type things.
Oh, that's outstanding,
dude!
Yeah. So those are a lot of fun. They love those, and like goofy shaped ghost waffles and different things like that for the kiddos.
Do you know how bad you make all the rest of us look? Guys that hate to cook.
I want to know what he's wearing for Halloween. And by
what do you think?
And by the way, former Browns offensive lineman costume is not permitted.
No, I'm not dressing up this year. Typically, I'm a costume guy, but this year I don't want to use this as a cop out. But we've been so busy, and it just kind of boom, it's here. And
I'm hearing excuses, John.
Yeah, it's just a big excuse bundle. I'll just cut it short. I'm not dressing up this year.
All right, give me the big picture on the Browns right now as we head into the bye week. 2-6. The quarterback carousel is ridiculous. You probably have a coach in most situations that would be sitting on a seat that's on fire, and you have a front office that isn't answering questions for trades that they've made. Give me your perspective of the franchise right now.
Yeah, I thought that I'll start with the most recent one. I thought it was kind of interesting that Andrew Berry was not available for media when traditionally that this is the time over the bye that you really get a chance for the media to ask him the tough hitting questions and the honest questions and get a snapshot of what they're thinking and where they're at. And maybe the fans and us, we wouldn't get the answers we're looking for, and they would kind of just smooth over everything, but at least be available for something. So I was a little bit surprised about that. We just kind of continue to see Kevin Stefanski out there just kind of saying the same things, over and over. And look, that's his job. He's going to do that and try to keep everything in-house. But yeah, I guess I'm always optimistic. Before the season, I thought that they could have gotten up to 7 wins, and I said that everything would have to go right, and they'd have to get some breaks, and things would have to go their way. But they're playing defensively. They're sure as hell playing like a team that can win 7 games, if not more. And offensively, it's still been kind of a symphony of errors, and everyone. When Joe Flacco was in there, and obviously now he's no longer in the building, turnovers were a problem, sacks were a problem, injuries were a problem, in particular up front. So they make a trade, and Dylan Gabriel comes in. And by the way, when Joe Flacco was in there, they couldn't throw the ball downfield. His average completion, I think, was right around 5 yards. Excuse me. So something was up, and was it a bunch of different excuses? Yeah, sure. Jack Conklin wasn't in there. You had your 3rd and 4th and 5th string tackles in there. Joe Flacco was under a lot of pressure. Were people getting open? Were people dropping the ball? Was he throwing the ball all over the place? There was a lot that went into what the record was in his tenure and some of the interceptions. So Dylan Gabriel comes in. Everybody's excited. A lot of people knew that he's probably a high floor, low ceiling guy. And I'm not going to sit here and just bash the guy, but it's looked the same and oftentimes worse, and he's made some rookie mistakes. But I think that the Browns want to see and give him a fair shake at developing, in particular with the guys that he has around him. Is the receiver room a room that can elevate a team, and when things are in doubt, hey, just chuck it up and somebody's going to go up and make a play? I don't think. And, you have a guy like Harold Fannin Jr. who's out there making plays and catching balls and scoring. And David Njoku, when he's been healthy, he's been, solid. But, Dylan Gabriel, same thing. I think he's under 5 yards average completion. So there's a consistency there. So it's hard for me to say, hey, the quarterback is going to change everything. And I know everybody in the world may be ready to move on to Shedeur Sanders, wants to see him. I'm certainly in the camp where I want that young man to get an opportunity, and I want him to do very well, as I want Dylan Gabriel to do well. But I just don't know if a quarterback on this roster right now has the skill set to elevate everything and make it look that much better. And, are we just going to start closing our eyes and throwing up, Hail Marys? And Dylan Gabriel tried that on Sunday and threw an interception. And, there's two guys, it seems like, covering our deep options every time the ball's up in the air. So something's going on offensively, guys, and everybody's got a finger to point at different areas when I think it's just a collective problem offensively. It's play calling, it's protection, it's route running, it's catching the ball, it's sustaining blocks, it's making accurate throws, it's having a time clock going off in your head and thinking, I got to get rid of the ball right now. So it's bad and it's ugly all around.
Bigger indictment with Joe Flacco's success with the Bengals. I know they lost to the Jets, but it wasn't because of Joe. In 3 games, he's thrown for 784 yards, plenty of deep balls, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. Is that a bigger indictment on what Andrew Berry gave Kevin Stefanski to work with, or is that on what Kevin Stefanski's trying to do offensively? The fact that Joe can look like he is at the end of the line with the Browns, he goes to Cincinnati, doesn't know any of their plays, and he's now lighting it up.
Yeah, Daryl, a great question. I think it's a little bit of both. When you go over to the Bengals offense, obviously everybody knows T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And if I'm Joe Flacco, I get in that building, I get off the plane, or I'm sure he drove, whatever. I'm going right up to those two guys and saying, hey, look, I have the general concepts and understanding, obviously, of what the terminology is here. But, look, you're getting the rock, and you better be ready. And those guys are probably like, can't wait. And he was a breath of fresh air in their locker room because of, a lot of the turnovers that they were experiencing after Joe Burrow went down. So, yeah, it sucks to watch that. And he's, spinning it all over the field and able to complete balls down the field. Now, obviously, we don't have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and some of their playmakers on this team. That's no secret. But it just seems like they have something designed. There's people open. Joe Flacco it looks like a different level of confidence, and I'm sure it's because of who he's throwing to, but it just looks different. And, yeah, that's an indictment on the two guys you just named. And why couldn't we manufacture some of that? And I'm not naive. We don't have those two playmakers. I can't reiterate that enough. But still, if you send Dylan Gabriel over there, does it look the same? Is he throwing the ball magically down the field more now, and is average completions longer than 4.8 or 4.9 yards or whatever it is? Probably. I don't have a crystal ball, but there's just a lot going on here offensively, guys, that I just think it's unfair to blame one single person. You mentioned Andrew Berry, you mentioned Kevin Stefanski and the guys in the offensive play caller rooms. What's going on? Why are we not being given better answers as to why we can't complete a ball downfield?
Well, this week we're not getting any answers, so we have that going for us, which is nice. I want to ask you about Kevin, though, and how he keeps this thing together. Miles slamming the helmet, understandably so, sitting at the end of the bench because he's so despondent despite giving everything he had, record-setting performance, and the team's not competitive. We've had Jerry Jeudy express some frustration in recent weeks. Dylan Gabriel has had a few comments that he's made about receivers turning 5-yard passes into explosive plays and things like that. My point, John, is it feels like there's some cracks in the foundation right now within the locker room. How does Kevin Stefanski keep this thing together with the fuse apparently already lit?
Yeah, Daryl, I don't know if he's going to be able, and things are starting to fracture, but look at what they looked like when everything was buttoned up and tight and he had the support. It hasn't been great. And we talked about before the Miami game, what Tua was saying, how he was upset that guys weren't showing up to player-only meetings and this and that. And I've been a part of those, and they suck because you're having them because you're at a bad point of the season. So I guess to answer your question, Coach Stefanski's got to rely on the leaders in the locker room. And when you see a Hall of Fame guy, showing frustration on the field to the media, I'm sure he's talking behind the scenes to players and the captains. But it's tough, and he's got a point. Miles does. I mean, if you were hibernating and you woke up and checked the box score and you saw that Myles Garrett had 5 sacks and 1 forced fumble and other tackles and different things and disruptive plays, and you said that, and the Browns lost and they got killed, they got beat 32-13. You'd be pretty surprised, I would assume.
Yeah.
So that sucks. It just feels like it's another kind of wasted year of his prime, to where it's like he's doing all these having all these individual achievements, and it's kind of all for naught. And it just shows you that one person can't win games, especially defensively. And it helps to have an explosive pass rusher and a Hall of Fame talent, but you have to have the supporting cast, and they just flat out don't right now.
John, in your opinion, how long does it take for a rookie quarterback to get used to being in the NFL? I mean, you played with enough of them, and you played with enough veterans, and for the offensive line to get used to a rookie quarterback in a daily situation, what is generally the learning curve there for a rookie quarterback?
I don't want to use this as a cop-out, but I think everyone's different. And Dylan Gabriel played a million college games. He's obviously prepared and a smart guy, and I think that goes back to the high floor type player, because he just seems like he knows where to throw it and when to throw it. Now, is it always accurate? No. Is he missed throws? That I get it, but it just seems like he's mentally ready. But I'm starting to see, and you've seen this over the course of the last few weeks, that he's afraid to make mistakes. And again, I don't watch the end zone copy, so I can't in the zoomed out copy of the all 22 where I can see what's going on with the route combinations. But it sure as hell looks on TV when they show replays. You'll have crossing routes, you'll have dig routes, you'll have whatever, any kind of route tree that you want to talk about. And there's sometimes, the receivers are blanketed. So is he forcing the ball in there and getting tips and turnovers or throwing it to other guys? I don't know if he's unsure about that and not wanting to make a mistake. But it just seems like his time clock and protection has been better. I'll say that. So it's not like he's under duress in 1.5 seconds like Joe Flacco was a lot of the times in the start of the year. So something's going on, a time clock's going on in his head where he's just like, check down, 6 yards. And I think the most frustrating thing is that, if and when Shedeur gets an opportunity, it's not like there's going to be anyone that's going to come as a savior. Now, maybe they change the playbook and the receivers can get open a little bit better and magically catch the football better. Time will tell. But it is what it is, and the offensive roster is what it is right now. And, Dylan's got to play with the guys that are in the room, and offensively, offensive line-wise, they have to block whoever's back there. But as far as learning curve, guys, I think it's varies. And Dylan Gabriel seems to me like he's mentally ready, but a lot of the things right now, I don't want to say are happening too fast, but you could tell that he's playing where he doesn't want to make a mistake, and he's just trying to do the easy thing and check the ball down and just take the simple completion and hope, to your point, a guy breaks a tackle and makes an explosive play. But it's hard to win like that when you're just hitting chip shots the whole game.
Yeah, the safety really felt that way. John, last question for you. What will you be handing out, what candy on Halloween? I'm predicting – hang on, I'm going to write this down real quick.
Well, obviously, full-size candy bars, because I'm a classy guy.
Full-size Snickers. That's what I wrote down. I thought that's what your answer would be. Okay.
Yeah, full-size candy bars, just because I'm classy. But I'm also frugal. So my kids are going trick-or-treating, and then our neighborhood trick-or-treat is the following week, which is a whole different story. And
oh man, this sounds like an association meeting, John. I'm not going to that.
It's horrible. So we're just going to repurpose some of the candy that my kids are getting.
Wow! Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, John, we got to roll. Thank you. Appreciate you. Always enjoy our conversations.
Guys, happy bye week.
Thanks, man. Happy bye week to you, John Greco on the Fan Hotline. Wow.